All right. So that is the end of the race for us. So now let's take the chance to check out the new Season 8 heroes. Will they give us a demonstration? They will. So this hero against Neptunarch. Let's take a look. I don't think we'll really gain much like information from these fights because the stats are considerably reduced from both sides. But I just kind of want to see how the heroes use their ultimate skills and when they're able to use it. Okay, not much is going on. So it appears that our hero is using the ultimate skill, which seemed to do a decent amount of damage. Anyways, we'll skip past this. Not very interesting. Let's take a look at the stats maybe. I really need to suggest to the devs to actually like compare these using reasonable stats. Like these stats are not representative of the combat engine nor the stats of your average player. So like these comparisons are literally like marketing for marketing only. And what I worry is that if they balance their heroes based on based on these reduced stat comparisons, if that is how they are balancing the mechanic, then it's very understandable how one side can suddenly feel like as if they are weaker than the previous season under certain circumstances because they have not accounted for the very high stats that exist between players. So now we have the archer against archer, which is kind of whatever. It's interesting how in the archer versus archer fight they gave each side 50,000 cavalry. I don't quite understand it. Maybe it is to show that the cavalry gets killed very quickly by this archer, which is very weird because Leona is kind of like a late bloomer. She is not very strong in the first 15 seconds, but very, very strong after that. However, this battle finishes in the first 15 seconds, so it's really hard to evaluate how this hero actually performed compared to, what a Leona is capable of in the late game. So now let's see. Um, okay, I can't really tell what's going on. But once again, Leona is a late bloomer, and she cannot really work to her full potential in this specific circumstance. Like I'm learning absolutely nothing from this confrontation. Absolutely nothing. Why? Because the stats are just not there to give me that information. Like these stats are meaningless. Anyways, we got to check out the new heroes, albeit very little information gained from these reports. Maybe we can see how much damage each hero dealt. These are very vague. It appears that each hero is able to deal damage to the specific scenario that the developers have crafted. However, we will not be able to see until we test these heroes out themselves. So let's finally take a look at a flying start. It appears that I was first, even though I messed up by about 2.5 minutes. But I'll take it. So you can see that it's not really that much of a rush. If you're faster, of course, it will be better. And I got the benefit of having an unusually high amount of leaves. I think I had 300,000 higher than what I typically had. But even with that, like this in terms of pacing, is not really anything impressive. People can get below 15 minutes, I think, or even below 14 minutes. I don't know. But whatever. It's not one of my big interests in getting a high score from the timing. But yeah, so we won't really be able to test these heroes until they are released in the new arena, which comes out in 2 hours. But I guess in the meantime, we can get a little bit of their fragments and check out kind of their skills. So let's redeem, and redeem. In previous seasons, we would get those heroes from the previous Wheel of Fortune. So whenever we played the previous Wheel of Fortune, the moment those heroes are released, we would actually get an equivalent number of cavalry fragments that we pulled from the previous season's Wheel of Fortune. But it doesn't seem like that's the case anymore, which is kind of a letdown. But whatever. It was probably a bug anyways. So going to the first infantry hero, we have Khufu. Is it? Khufu, yeah. At least his name is easier to say than Neptune Arc, though maybe not as impressive sounding. Let's first of all, let me just make sure, not this one. Let me just make sure that I have room here. I don't have room. Wow. Why do I not have room? I have no idea. Let's kick these heroes out and refresh the cooldown. So let's put our new heroes in the limelight. We have Lu Bu. This hero sure made a few people crazy on Discord. I have no idea why. And finally, we have Cyrus as the archer. Okay. Now let's quickly get them to level 80 and upgrade them to something. So hero drill, we have the cavalry, and finally the archer. And let's start them up for a little bit. Typically, I like to get them to just around 4 stars to take a look at their skills. And what I kind of want to see is whether they have, well, first of all, their awakening skill. And secondly, whether there's any skills where upgrading the skills would actually weaken them temporarily. So this should be enough to max his skills. Let's take a look at his first skill. So his first skill deals 1800% damage to all enemy troops around self and deduct their charge value by 40%. This skill is used immediately after the two sides engage in battle. So this sounds quite powerful against any Leona setup pretty much, because this is very upfront damage, and Leona setups are very bad against upfront damage, which is why the Leona setup is actually very powerful against Season 6, as well as to some degree Season 7, because those seasons are not so upfront fighting. They deal very little damage about the first 15 seconds into the battle, but afterwards they start ramping up their damage, and that is where Leona really shines. However, this season's hero appears to be very strong at the beginning. Increase infantry defense of your troops by 100%, increase infantry HP by 100%. Now, it feels like there's like 5 different people playing around with the skill descriptions, because I have no idea what increased infantry defense of your troops mean. Like, is this just a final 100% increase in defense and final 100% increase in HP? Very vague. And his third skill, after an enemy contingent, whatever this means, performs a normal attack, the damage of their rage skill is reduced by 4%, stacking up to a maximum of 20 times. So very quickly this will reach, very quickly this will reach 80%. And that's quite powerful, because Leona, it's very easy to do 20 normal attacks. Let's just put it that way. And finally, the rage skill is actually a passive skill. In battle, it increases your rage skill damage by 50%. This effect is reduced 10% with each skill cast, up to a maximum reduction of 40%. Now this kind of drives home what I meant earlier by these heroes are very upfront in their prowess. Like, he can deal, 1800% attack plus or even multiplied by 50%. If it is multiplied, then that is pretty insane, because it is likely multiplied, I would say, by 50%. So instead of 1800%, you have 2700%. And that effect is reduced by 10% with each rage skill cast. And the battle will probably be over by then. So this is a potentially very scary rage skill. I mean, awakening skill. We'll have to see how well this skill works. And this one thing to also note is that this is a very damaging skill. So typically when we would have infantry, the infantry passives and the infantry skills as well would be kind of defensive. However, this infantry does not really have any purely defensive skills for himself. He has damage and debuffs. We can see this skill is a very strong debuff skill against the entire enemy side of the field. So very impressive infantry from what I can see. Going on to the cavalry, Lu Bu. Let's upgrade his stars. This part is fairly boring, although some people like to see this for some reason, but I'm just going to rush through it. Hope you guys don't mind. The meat of the information, after all, is when we get to look at their skills. His first skill is, what the heck? 3,000% damage on the target contingent. I see that they like using this word now. I don't know what it does. And apply a suppression effect, which reduces the attack, okay, that's kind of weird wording, which reduced the attack of enemy units by 70% and apply disarmed effect for 9 seconds. So kind of the question now is, does this affect cavalry? I'm guessing it does. We'll kind of have to see. I might be able to replay the demo to see exactly which unit types it affects. But 3,000 damage is a lot. His first passive. In the first 15 seconds after the battle begins, all enemy melee units will have their rage skill damage reduced by 70%. Wow. Now this is a weird skill. After using a skill, their charging speed of rage skill will be reduced by 40% for 9 seconds. After using a skill, they're charging. So in the first, so this is a passive. All enemy melee units, interesting, will have their rage skill damage reduced by 70%. So this skill kind of counteracts its own season. So this skill serves to prevent your enemy from obliterating you within the first 5 seconds, maybe. After using a skill, their charging speed of rage skill will be reduced by 40% for 9 seconds. Interesting. And finally, in battle, the rage skill damage taken by your units is reduced by 85%. Very important. So this is probably a self-defensive skill for cavalry only. And the final defense of your units is increased by 200%. So we can see that they're using final defense again, which really makes me wonder what this language means, because the effect doesn't seem very big. Only by 100%, HP by 100%. But is it like final times a final? I don't know. Anyways, so this is looking to be a very good defensive skill for the cavalry. It's a very wide net. It blocks rage skill damage and increases final defense. Yeah, that's a very impressive skill. His passive skill is also a passive. His awakening skill is a passive skill. In battle, increases the normal attack damage of your units by 200%. What? Wait a moment. Let me go back to Hanzo's awakening skill. No, his Hanzo's third skill. Damage taken. No, not this one. The damage dealt by all your units is increased by 80%. Effect is removed after a rage skill is unleashed. Just think about how restrictive this skill sounds. So this is a Season 3 skill, and it was very powerful during the time it was released. It increases damage dealt by all units by 80%, and the effect is removed after a rage skill is unleashed. While this one, I understand it's only for the cavalry, but keep in mind the cavalry deals a freaking what? It hits like a freaking truck. So comboed with normal attack, like cavalry doesn't hit lightly. Like this cavalry can hit very hard maybe. I don't know. But this is a very good skill. This looks to be a very, very good skill, assuming that the cavalry can survive. So let's take a look at what the archer brings to the table. Let's upgrade. Stats-wise, I'm probably gonna skip most of it because they don't look they don't look to be too much higher than the previous season. Like, stats really haven't increased much over the past few seasons. And by stats, I'm referring to like these stats, like 471%. That's not much of a boost compared to like even 2 seasons ago. We can take a look at Horn God. Like, he has 441%. So these are negligible increases. So let's take a look at his skills instead. First skill, deals 3 consecutive instances of damage to a single contingent. I'm getting annoyed by this word because I have no idea what this means. I'm just going to think of it as like a single target, with each instance causing 700% damage. Additionally, reduce the damage of the target's rage skill by 50% for 12 seconds. Wow. I mean, 12 seconds is a long time, so this looks to be almost a 100% uptime almost. So the next skill, for the first 15 seconds after the battle begins, reduce your damage taken from rage skills by 80%. So once again, this is like self-protection from themselves. After taking damage, reduce the damage taken from normal attacks by 70% until the battle ends. Now that's very weird. Why would the archer be in danger of normal attacks? Very, very strange. During the first 15 seconds after the battle starts, the rage skill damage caused by enemy cavalry and archer troops is reduced by 80%. During the first 15 seconds, okay, so this is like an additional protective skill that only lasts the first 15 seconds of the battle? That's kind of weird. In battle, increases your rage skill charge speed by 100%. Which we all know this is like more like 50%. Each rage skill cast reduces the bonus by 10% up to a maximum reduction of 40%. So I don't know. I don't know if they have fixed the charge speed, because we all know that like we cannot stack. Like we've all seen what skill is it? Where get out of my face. We've all seen this skill. Increases your troops' rage skill charge speed by 100%. And we know that this skill is absolute horseshit. It doesn't do anything because we already have Quinn's 40%, and this is at best giving you 10% more. So the rage skill charge limit, the limit to how much you can boost the rage skill charge speed is about 50%. So maybe the purpose of this is to counteract the negative effect brought on by like the one of his skills, I think. Yeah. After using a skill, their charging speed of rage skills is reduced by 40% for 9 seconds. So maybe that skill is kind of used to counteract this skill. Kind of a little weird. Like whenever you have those interconnected skills, it kind of leads to weird balance, I don't know, behavior. Like, it's hard to tell how good these heroes will be. I can tell that they are all very much like front damage dealing heroes. Like, they have a lot of power at the beginning of the battle, especially for the infantry hero. The cavalry hero as well, he has a lot of power. No, not this. He can unleash a lot of power at the beginning of the battle. For the first 15 seconds of the battle, all enemy melee units will have their rage skill damage reduced by 70%. So it looks to be very effective against Season 7, at least based on first impressions. But it's hard to say. Like, if they cannot kill Leona fast enough, and if they are suppressed by like Neptune Arc with the Michael armor, then how effective will they actually be? Because Leona, her regen speed is cracked. Her regen speed is absolutely boosted by this extra charge value that she gets every time she unleashes a normal attack. However, these other heroes, simply suppressing the rage skill charge speed is not gonna impede Leona at all. So do they actually have a way of killing Leona? If we go back to the Starfall Trials, I really kind of wanted to see. Okay, so here we have this cavalry versus this cavalry, and let's just take a look at the Leona damage. Interestingly, Leona did very little damage on this team with Dorothy compared to Lu Bu. So let's see how much normal damage. So Lu Bu, we can see he did a lot of normal damage. Like his normal damage was even higher than Leona. And that's kind of expected given his like incredible skill too. Can we watch this again? Yes, we can. So I'm just going to take a look at how much damage he's dealing. So it should be like the second tick or the third tick. I'm pretty sure it's the third tick, like 377. So now the defense is reduced. Yeah, I don't know. It's very hard to say. Like Leona is just so powerful when each side only has 500% defense. But here they get kind of obliterated. I'm very interested to see how well these heroes will perform versus, because we know that 777 is not good. Like nobody runs 777 unless they kind of want to die. People run like 577 using Michael's armor on Neptune Arc, and them showcasing like 888 versus 777 is really not telling us much. Like this is not a very useful report. So yeah, hopefully I will be able to shed more light on these heroes' actual performance once the Arena of Legends open. But for now, I hope everyone enjoyed my first impression of the Season 8 heroes, as well as a little bit of Battle Disorder early start action. I'll look forward to everyone in my next video. Take care. And welcome back. Now, a first impressions for Season 8 heroes is not complete without some practical testing. So let's first take a look at my formation. This will be a fairly reasonable conservative formation, mostly infantry, some cavalry, and a little bit more archers. So I'm just going to see how this formation performs against my opponents, and I think it will be very interesting. So let's get started. Hopefully we'll be able to meet a couple strong opponents during this practical testing, but let's take a look at what is happening now. Okay, so he unleashed his ultimate, which did absolutely nothing. This is fine. I see the archer taking a lot of damage for some reason. What is causing the archer to take so much damage? Okay, now the cavalry is getting in some damage, but it is being suppressed by Kellerman, or the Kellerman armor. But it seems like my opponent is not able to do any damage to me, which is quite interesting. So let's see what happens versus the Leona composition. So this is a very popular composition in Season 7. And the initial damage is rather high. So the cavalry died immediately, which is expected. And the archer is actually taking a lot of damage. I'm really interested to see where the archer damage is coming from. Like who is attacking the archer? Is it Lu Bu? Because if Lu Bu is the one attacking the archer, then maxing Lu Bu might be reasonable because it gives Lu Bu like a 200% boost to his normal attack damage, and that's really powerful. Okay, so let's take a closer look now. What is hitting the archer? And I couldn't see. The archer died instantly pretty much, so we will not look further. But let's see if we could take a look at what is dealing the damage here. Which hero is really dealing the damage? So the infantry, interestingly enough, despite his crazy rage skill description, is not really dealing all that much damage. Maybe this is due to Lisbeth, and this might be different when I am facing a mirror composition. So this could be a combination of, you would think, Kellerman suppression plus Lisbeth's defense. However, this is not reflected in Lu Bu's damage. Lu Bu, as a cavalry, is also suppressed by the Kellerman rage skill effect. However, we can still see an incredible, not only melee attack, but also rage skill damage. And I wonder which hero this rage skill damage fell under. Was it 55,000 dealt towards the infantry? Because that would be quite incredible compared to, say, the cavalry or the archer. In the second fight, let's see who dealt the most damage. Now, that normal attack is a little insane. I wonder if he is really the one who is killing the archer through his kind of sub skill. As you know, the cavalry can directly attack the archer. Maybe it counts as a normal attack, so maybe awakening Lu Bu would really be painful for your opponent archer. Whoops, I didn't mean to click that. I meant to click on the... I'm going to be a little late to the top ranking, but that is fine. I'm going to take a look at the result from the third fight here. Note that I am much stronger than Ninja, but it is still interesting to see where the damage is coming from. And in this case, it appears that the damage is coming from mostly my Lu Bu. However, of course, this is not reflective of... This does not mean that Lu Bu is worth maxing over, say, the infantry. Because what I want to kind of see is, against a mirror composition, which hero is most dominant, or against a more powerful enemy, which hero might be more dominant. So I'm hoping to be able to face someone really strong, and it seems that we're going to get our first opportunity here against... Never mind, so he doesn't have archer. This is going to be a steamroll, but let's see what happens. So against Frost, I think, and Dorothy, let's take a look. So, okay, the ultimate attack really didn't seem to do that much. Okay, that got obliterated. Yeah, so far I'm not really convinced with awakening the infantry hero, because awakening the infantry hero, all that's doing is boosting his ultimate skill damage, but that doesn't seem to be doing all that much. Let's take a look at who is doing the damage here. Wow, it's the archer this time. I wonder who the archer got to kill. All right, up next is some random. I'm just going to watch the result from the first fight and skip through the rest. I don't think we'll be able to see anything too interesting here. Okay, we won't. Up next is Hawk. So actually this is a very good matchup. So this is kind of the premium Season 7 composition. It is very tanky, it is highly flexible, and it is very powerful. Only countered by a few compositions, such as 547 if you are stronger than your opponent, or of course a mirror composition, or maybe Neptunarch with Kellerman's armament, but that is actually not so effective when solo compared to rally. But we're going to go into this and see what happens. Now this is the fight I'm interested in. So against a fairly good composition, what is going to happen? Let's take a look. So we know that Dorothy confers a lot of defensive power to Neptunarch. And we see that Lisbeth has died, so no more Horn God buff from him. Now, the question I'm going to ask is, how well can my heroes tank Neptunarch's first ultimate? Because that ultimate hits really hard. Is his ultimate gonna hit? I'm surprised that Dorothy is kind of surviving, but Neptunarch, wow. Neptunarch is getting obliterated. Actually, his whole team is getting obliterated, and nothing's happening on my team. Holy shit. I don't think their demo was lying. How did I crush so hard? Okay, that was a little pitiful. A little pitiful performance from one of the most popular Season 7 teams in the past. Now, this makes me very curious because it's going to come down to wow, look at Lu Bu. It's going to come down to Season 8 versus Season 8 or some combination of Season 8 and other seasons. Because based on this result, like Hawk is by no means weak. He is almost comparable to myself. And this composition, I would say, is not great because he's using way too few archers. I would have preferred to use maybe 30,000 archers, 30,000 cavalry, but it's not a terrible composition at all. But it got completely wiped out. I don't know what defense Neptune Arc was conferred, but these Season 8 heroes didn't care about that. They just plowed through his like I actually ended up taking more damage from a random season like season 16. Let's take a look at this actually. He didn't even have archers. Like how is this game designed nowadays? I don't understand. Like I feel like heroes are able to use aspects like buffs from previous seasons to their own advantage. Like it doesn't make sense that his first team would get crushed so hard, but be able to deal like fairly meaningful damage to my team while missing out on their archer. It's really weird. So let's see what happens here. So we have Quinn equipped with Chitorian's Arma. Okay, so my archer took a decent amount of damage. I don't know where that came from. And you can see they're not taking that much damage for whatever reason, but they should be taking more damage soon. I know Chitorian confers a 90% damage down for the first 15 seconds of the battle, but we have long passed that period. I can see that my archer is still getting hit quite hard here. Yeah, probably by Frost. Kellerman with Frost Armor. And I'm not really doing that much damage to him, interestingly enough. So let's take a look at who dealt the most damage. Like you can kind of get a taste of how the developer specifically designed Season 8 to counter Season 7, but not necessarily be so strong against previous seasons. Like I just feel like the skill design is a little bit messed up. So once again, the infantry not doing all that much. So I'm really not convinced at the rage skill for the infantry now. Like 1800% might feel like a lot, but based on all these practical results, he is not really performing at the level he should be compared to, say, the ultimate Lu Bu, which people are apparently very hyped about, and even Cyrus. Like, I don't feel like anything special is coming out of Cyrus right now. It's all Lu Bu going crazy. But the infantry does appear to be rather tanky. So this guy appears to be somewhat relevant. So let's try out maybe just Lu Bu. Let's see what happens. Here, go at it. Let's see what you can do. Like, my cavalry is the weakest unit in my arsenal, but he is putting on quite a show right now. Although we will not have any conclusive reason to max any of these heroes until we see kind of a mirror matchup. Like, he's getting absolutely destroyed right now without being able to put up any resistance. Let's check out the next team. So next team is the classic 547. Let's see what that's able to do. Instantly crushed. Yeah. I know he's much weaker than me, but let's take a look at maybe the hero damage. Yeah. Infantry actually doing a little more here. Yeah, they just died too quickly for my heroes to be able to do anything. Well, last fight, not much to see here. He's gonna simply melt. So I'm going to set up my defense and yeah, let's see what other people feel about it. I'm just gonna set up a single defense. If people can beat it, then good for them. But let's just see how people deal with it. The disadvantage of the Arena of Legends is that you will not be able to see what other people are using. I mean, you will not be able to see the result of the clashes once other people either win or lose against you. That is the downside of the Arena of Legends. But I could probably get some feedback from people just going against my team. So let's do something like, let's just do 100,000 infantry, maybe 80,000 cavalry, and the rest into archer. So let's see how well that works. So yeah, that's my first impression of Season 8 Heroes based on practical testing, a little bit of practical testing. I was really surprised by the lack of damage from this skill because his awakening skill, all that gives is more damage to his rage skill. And if that damage does not translate to like actual performance, then he is really not worth maxing. Like these Season 8 heroes each cost about 1,450 fragments to max, so they are on the more expensive ends. There's basically two levels. The first level, which is Season 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, they cost 1,200 fragments, but Seasons 5, 7, and 8 all cost 1,450 fragments. So 250 fragments more than the other seasons. So these are expensive to max. But so far, based on my testing, the cavalry hero as well as the archer hero, they seem fairly promising, especially the cavalry hero. I'm really interested to see his potential once this skill is maxed. He appears to have some quite nice like self defense. The archer hero also has a decent amount of self defense, but his defense kind of runs out like after 15 seconds. So I'm really not sure how well this hero is going to perform. So my favorite is on Lu Bu right now, the cavalry hero. This might very well change in the future, but I hope everyone has enjoyed my first impressions. This will be a little bit of a longer video once I stitch everything together, but I'll see everyone in the next video, which will probably be maybe a Apex Arena review of what people are running in Season 8. Take care.